and they tilted the bed back, and that's when the lights went out, if you will. It was like somebody had actually flipped the circuit breaker, and that's when I actually died.
Welcome to the Kindness Podcast. I'm Nicole Phillips. Today's conversation is with Richard Greene, who is the author of Finding the Eye of the Storm, a near-death experience answered my questions about the meaning of life and our purpose for being. Richard came back from a near-death experience with a little more clarity or perhaps confirmation on what it means to be human. And so thank you for joining me from Raleigh, North Carolina, Richard Greene. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm really happy to be on your show. I've been a long-time listener, and it's just great to be here.
Well, that's the key. If you can say that you're a longtime listener, then you get to be on the show, right?
Ah,
No.
okay, is that it?
Flattery will get you everywhere, sir. Okay, so generally when I think of near-death experiences, I think of there being a before and an after. And so I'd like to dive into that a little bit, but I feel like we need to tell people a little bit about your before and after is like growing up. The biggest and the smallest. Can you talk about that? Like, can you go instead of like right before you're near death, can you go way, way, way back in life for me?
Sure. I was a free range kid, and in a positive way. It's I was the oldest in my family, firstborn, and that holds a special place in, I think, any family. But for all the kids on the block, I was a good 3 to 5 years younger than everybody. So it gives you, and kids get together and they're free range. We were all good kids, but there's a sense of pecking order and a justice that happens that you all sorted out for yourselves as kids.
Hmm.
So that's what I grew up with. It was a real dichotomy of this special kid at home and this little runty kid on the outside running around trying to keep up with the big kids, both from school and sports and everything else. So it was a good foundation. It basically kept me humble, because if all I had was at home how wonderful I was, and then I had all the kids who definitely kept me in my place. It gave me that sense of I have to work hard to accomplish whatever I need to accomplish in life, whatever that was going to be.
And that was where and when, time and place.
Oh, that was in New Jersey back in the mid '60s. It was way back. It was a crazy time. I mean, certainly all the civil rights things in Vietnam and all the chaos of the political assassinations. It was quite an interesting time to grow up, and it sparked a whole lot of questions for me actually from an early age as to why are we here? Why is all of this cruelty happening? Why can't people just be nice to one another? Um, good hippie, I guess.
Was just gonna ask, were you a hippie?
Maybe.
Yeah, I dig it. I get right because it's the idea like, why can't we like what's the problem here, people? Like, let's just get along
Right, it's like the Youngblood song, "Come on, people, let's get together, try to love one another right now."
right now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I mean, it sounds like you already had this idea of unity in
Mhm.
your before and
Yes.
and then you had this near death experience. And obviously lots of life in between, but tell us what this actual near death experience was. Like what physically happened to you when?
Yeah, so about 25 years ago, it's taken me a long time to sort out, to discuss, the actual death part of it. But the mechanics of the living piece, I was racing bicycles in my mid-40s. I was in really good shape, and I was out on a training ride. And unfortunately, I was riding with a flatting tire. I got dehydrated, overexerted myself, and actually felt quite lousy. Didn't know what was going on. Came home, and my wife, in her wisdom, said, "You need to go to the doctor." And me being a guy saying, "No, I think I'm okay. It's just a bonk. I'm fit. I'm healthy." So she called a doctor friend of ours who had asked me, he goes, "I just have two questions for you. as I explained to him what had happened. And first question was, do we have a family history of heart disease? Which we do. And the second one was, do you have a family? So guys generally being kind of slow about things, that kind of was like a light bulb to me. And I said, okay, let's go to the hospital and go see what's going on. And then within that whole process, they found some blockage, which they fixed. And it was after all of that that I actually had a 2 plus 3 minute-ish kind of flatline that had happened after the procedure was done. It was very unique and very strange, but that's that's the mechanics of what happened.
So
Um,
you had like open heart surgery. Is that what they call that?
no, that was they just did a cardio cath. It was a stent that they put
Okay.
in. And then something after everything was all done went wrong for just a moment, and I came back.
So the doctor in the room is seeing flatline. There's nothing there. And then every chaos, I am assuming, erupted. Do you know? And
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually it's kind of a funny story. The
I love
doctor
a
was
funny
not
story. Tell me.
Yeah. The doctor was not there. I was in something they call telemetry, and 2 nurses were talking with me and working on me, and I said, "I'm really not feeling well." And they tilted the bed back, and that's when the lights went out, if you will. It was like somebody had actually flipped the circuit breaker, and that's when I actually died. That process, lasted, like I said, 2 to 3 minutes. I don't know exactly how long, and I opened up my eyes, and there was the room, what was 2 nurses, was now filled with people, and they had the AED machine going and a big needle, and they were all standing around looking white as ghosts, and then said, "Oh, you're back," and they all kinda trickled out. The funny part, not funny, but funny part, was my wife was out in the waiting area, and she had no idea. She saw all these people running in, but she had no idea I was the only person in that room. She thought it was somebody else. So which is a blessing.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
so, because for
Yeah.
her to sit there and the most helpless feeling ever, right?
Right.
To not
Right.
be able to do anything.
Yeah, but when everybody cleared out, the the nurse says, "Here, I wanna show you something." And she brought out, I don't know, 5 or 6 pages of EKG that were just flatline.
Did you take a copy of it and, like, get a tattoo? You know how people get,
No,
like
no
the
tattoos.
Have you ever seen those people who have the like, "Oh, this was my dad's heartbeat," or whatever, then
Yep.
they get a tattoo? Yours would
Yep.
look quite different, I guess. Oh
Yes.
my.
Well, at least for that short moment anyway.
Right, yeah. So you don't dive into that part of the story in your book.
No, I don't, because, that's just the mechanics, and I personally, I thought that was a rather boring part of it. I thought the more interesting part was, all the metaphors that people use for, going towards the light, going through a tunnel. All of those metaphors are metaphors, but they're true, but they're not. So when I actually flatlined, I was in distress when that happened. I was feeling like I was going to get sick. I was in pain. And like I said, somebody flipped a circuit breaker and all of my 5 senses went away. And that was really confusing to me when that happened, because it was like, what just happened? And then I had this out of body experience. It was like I was traveling someplace, and like I was going through a tunnel or going towards a light, although there was no light and there was no tunnel. There wasn't anything that I can describe in our English words. I just know what it was, but the metaphor works. Certainly does. And as I progressed on this journey, it became much clearer that everything that ever was, everything that ever is, and everything that is just one giant thing. Um, and I've come to rest on it is the oneness of creation that I was shown. And I think in our living, our day-to-day living, we don't get to see the grandeur of the oneness of creation. The old Zen uh, riddle, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Um, the sound of one hand clap. What is that, right? That's what the oneness of creation is. We are too close to it to see it. An analogy that Alan Watts used a long time ago about trying to understand God, creation, fill in the blank, is like looking at a black cat behind a white picket fence, but you're only 6 inches away from it. All you see is black and white stripes. So in death, you're removed to a distance where you can actually see this oneness.
Do you think that that oneness included nature? Did it include, I mean, as humans, we're so kind of ego focused in on we're the most important things around, right?
Right. Right. No, everything was every living sentient thing, plants, animals. It was is all things are one thing. We're all part of this great um, creation. We're all a piece of it, and for whatever purpose we're here, I don't even know why, but we're here, and we get reunited with that oneness.
Did you feel like in that couple of minutes that you were gone, did you feel like it was a long time? Like you had like time to look around and explore this, or was it just a
No, it seemed like an eternity. Quite frankly, it seemed a very long time. And it was as I went through this journey, if you will, it was almost as if things were being revealed to me almost. And again, I'm using our language and our words. It doesn't even come close to describing the sense of awe, the sense of love. I mean, just being embraced in pure love. It was amazing. It was like all the people in my family that had all gone before me. Um, they were there, not in their bodies or spirit, but their essence was there. It was like everything just. Uh, it really is hard to explain. So again, I come back to it was just a singularity, a oneness of creation.
feeling of love, like you were enveloped
Yes.
in love?
Yes. Yes. I was, yes, enveloped is a great word. It just sucked you in and just put you right in this place of, wow.
Wouldn't that be the best just to stay there, to
It,
feel that?
it was, I say this in the book, you know, I, I think if everybody could have the opportunity, I mean, we're all going to die. I mean, it happens, right? I just had the privilege of being able to dying and coming back, and it is a privilege because I think if everybody went through that experience for a moment or two, we wouldn't have any of the nonsense that we have today because we'd realize that we're all just part of this one thing, this myth of individuality that we live in because everything is, you know, you see the world through you. You hear it's your stuff, but it's not.
Richard, is it possible, to play devil's advocate here, is it possible that because of the deep thinking and the mental processing you had done in your quote unquote hippie era,
Mhm.
is it possible that this was just a self-confirming prophecy, sort of?
It absolutely could be. I'm very clear in the book that this is my personal experience. This is what I've come to see. I think it's been played out with so many other NDE stories. It it it's very very similar. Um, so I don't know, Nicole. I really don't know. All I know is that it was right there, it was the greatest experience I ever had right there with witnessing the birth of my children.
I have heard from other people who have had near-death experiences that some of them say they've seen family members, right? The actual at different ages. Some of them say they've seen Jesus. Some of them say, or whatever their kind of higher power going into it. They've had some sort of experience with that. But the one thing that I I think I've always heard without exception, and maybe you can correct me on this, is that love that really defies any word. It's just this incredible feeling.
That's it. It's that's why I've was hesitant in even writing the book, and why it took me so long to do it, is because so many people are wrapped within their own beliefs, which carry them through the day, which is great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and this is not the way. It was the way I found and what I personally experienced. It's certainly not throwing shade on anybody else's beliefs or thoughts, but there is a consistency in the NDE stories. What varies is the words that we use, and those words are created as by humans.
Yeah.
And this is outside the realm of our humanness, if you will.
Mhm. Mhm. Boy, we wanna control things, don't we? We wanna put
Yeah,
things in boxes.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, and, that generally leads to a whole lot of trouble.
Gosh, I wanna be right. I wanna control things. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because we
terrible.
control 2 things, and those 2 things are temporary as well. We control our posture and we control our attitude. Everything else happens.
Interesting. We control our posture and we control our attitude.
Everything else happens to us, and we react to it, and it's in the reaction that determines or influences, I should say, not determines, but influences what's gonna happen next,
Yeah. So then the dominoes will fall because of the attitude that I am bringing
right?
is,
'Cause yeah, because somebody else is gonna bring their attitude,
yeah.
and somebody else is gonna bring theirs. Everybody's throwing pebbles in the pond.
Yes.
All those ripples intersect.
Right, and sometimes my happy bumps into your happy, but sometimes my crabby, on the
Mhm.
interstate is gonna bump into your crabby on the interstate, and then, oy. Oh. So, you talk in the book about finding the eye of the storm. Explain what the eye of the storm means to you, either in death, what it meant to you, or what it means to you in life.
You know, I took that title because of life. We go through so much in life, in even our closest relationships have challenges within them. When we go to work, we have to go deal with all these people who we aren't even close to, and things pop up. Things that we and those are things that we can at least influence, right? And then there's the whole stuff that goes on in the world that is so nerve-wracking. And that is the storm that we live in. We're one step away, one heartbeat away from being reunited with the oneness of creation, but we're here, and in this here, we're in a storm. So how do you find the calm, that eye of the storm, so that you can manage through and keep a decent, or at least attempt to keep a decent attitude about the things that are going on day to day and how you manage your own self?
Okay, I'm we're gonna dive into that in a second and your pillars with that, but I had 2 curiosities as you were saying that.
Mhm.
A, I wanted to know how people who know you felt or things they said when you told them that you had a near death experience. So I'm kind of running backwards in this interview a little bit. But then the second thing I want to know is um, would the people who know you professionally, personally, whatever, would they say, you know, that Richard Greene, he's really a guy who lives in the eye of the storm. He lives in that calm. Or is it like, okay, well, 50-50 or 60-40? Because I'm telling you what, like I have a show called The Kindness Podcast, and
Mhm.
I think like there are people who are like, Nicole is kind like 100% of the time. And I'm like, oh, pay attention, my friend, because
But that is a great question. Both parts of it are great questions. The reaction to my NDE from friends and acquaintances and all ran the gambit from, well, that's not what happened, uh,
okay.
which I found very interesting, to, well, what are you going to do with this gift? And so it ran that full gambit. And in terms of people that know me, do I live in the eye of the storm? Yeah, I've always been a pretty chill guy, at least on the outside. We may want to, how do I want to phrase this? Um, there are things that certainly get my goat, and most of the time I'm pretty good at trying to step back and say, okay, well, maybe that person is having a bad day, and that's really not. I'm more of a Rousseau kind of guy, that people are good, versus a Hobbes kind of guy where people are inherently evil and nasty. Um, so yeah, I tend to stay in this chill spot. I have a little anecdote. In this job that I had at one point, I was one of the senior executives, and the CEO was very annoyed at me because I wasn't showing any emotion. He was storming around the room and he was yelling at me, and he just, Rich, you're too California. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he goes, you're too mellow. You need to get excited about this stuff. And I asked him, I said, does it really matter if I run around with my hair on fire? Is it gonna help the people that need to fix the problem? Is it gonna make the problem go away? If I run around, is it gonna make the sun come up any faster? And he just got really exasperated and left the office. But yeah, I don't see the sense in running around with your hair on fire. As I said earlier, you don't control very much. Control your attitude. And if you can deal with things on a calm and level basis, then I think you'll come to better solutions, if you will, or better courses of action. That's a better way to phrase it.
Those are really great practical tips, right? That's a super great practical tip, like control your attitude. And uh, I feel like some of the pillars, you know, when you said before I distracted you with my two random questions, we were moving into the idea of behind the book, which is these five pillars.
Mhm.
So compassion, curiosity, gratitude, humility, and kindness. Uh, how did you come up with those five? How did you land on those five? And when we talk about the before and after, were those five part of your before?
They were, without me really knowing it,
Okay, all right.
because I hadn't really thought about it that deeply. And there's a the pillars have to be built on something, right? They don't just float. And the foundation for all five pillars is honesty. Without
Oh,
honesty, you have nothing. You have no basis of trust. You have no basis of connection. So, and within those five pillars, compassion, which fits with empathy and trying to understand where somebody is coming from, can't happen if you think you're right. And the only way you get past that is with curiosity and trying to, how do I understand? And in that process, in curiosity, you have to be humble of mind, because otherwise, well, I know what's going on. Um, and then, of course, all kinds of stuff happens. So just be grateful for the kindness and for the blessings that we all have every day. Is it might just be as simple as having breakfast, you know. um, and then last and not least by any stretch, and where the podcast fits so nicely is kindness, because kindness is that component that gets us through the day to day. When you're going through the checkout line at the grocery store, yeah, and Monica is checking you out, say, "Hi, Monica, how's your day?" Just something as simple as that, just it makes a difference. It brings us together as human beings, because at the end of the day, when you got up this morning and when everybody else got up this morning and they were getting dressed, they put on one sock at a time, and when we're hungry, we want some food. And when we're cold, we want some shelter and some warmth. And when we're feeling sad and lonely, we want somebody to love us and hug us and be there for us. That's human. It doesn't matter your religion, it doesn't matter your nationality, it doesn't matter your skin color. That is human. And as we recognize that and we take the moment to acknowledge another human being as being valuable, that's where magic happens.
I can hear the oneness of humanity in that.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, you add in the oneness of nature, of animals and plants and all of that, and how we sustain each other and care for each other in that.
Yeah. We are all connected. Without all of those other living things, we'd be on a barren planet. We wouldn't have a way to sustain we wouldn't be able to sustain this sentient being.
Looking specifically, I guess, at curiosity and humility, I mean, there are hard, hard conversations that happen in our world and that need to happen in our world and that should be happening in our world probably, right? And so how practically do we gear up for those hard conversations using curiosity and humility?
Really good, really, really good question. It takes effort, because you have to step out of your belief zone and try to understand somebody else's belief zone. I'm going to put it within the political context, because I think that's the thing that most everybody deals with right now. You have a point of view that you've come to. That's the generic you, obviously. That you've come to because of life events, and I think people need to recognize that at the core of our humanness, we really only have two real emotions, two core emotions. We have that love that we can tap into that gets us to the oneness of creation. And I think we've all seen I think everybody has experienced that sense of awe at one point in time in their lives, and hopefully more than once, and without dying.
Mhm.
But most of the time we're stuck in fear. We're afraid of, whether it's our own internal voice, I'm not good enough, or whether it's somebody else telling you that you're not good enough, or somebody else telling you that those other people that you don't know are bad. Within that context, if we recognize that fear is an overwhelming and overarching emotion that we all have, then I think you can step back and say, okay, well, why does somebody think this way? And listening openly, that's where the compassion and empathy comes in, to try to understand, well, why? Just tell me why. Don't judge, just listen. You still may not agree. I mean, nobody, it's not an expository argument. You're not trying to convince anybody of anything. You're just trying to understand. That's where curiosity comes in. It's just the raw why. And then humility is the piece that lets you step back and listen. That's how those two pieces come together. And I don't think you can be compassionate or have empathy for somebody else if you don't have curiosity and humility. I don't know how they come together.
People could hear that and they could say, well, that's great. And so if, once in a while you have to disagree with somebody, sure, you can gear up and be humble and be curious and do all of that. But, what about when you're living with that person? And so I don't know if you know where I'm going with this right now, but I believe that you and your wife have different views on lots of things, right? So
Yeah,
you
well,
live with someone with whom you must be
I
curious about each other.
I don't know that they're different views. I mean, we've been together for almost half a century. Um, so our core is the same. We may have different opinions, but I think that's true for everybody.
Yep.
You come to a thought, you see something on the news or you'll read an article and you'll have a different opinion because it comes from a different place. So I think trying to being able to step back and questioning things is a great way to move forward. It's not always the easiest. I think when you talk about relationships, any relationship, work, home, parent, child, husband, wife, partner, doesn't matter. We're we operate under the veil of individuality because that's all we understand in this in our living, right? And because I'm hearing what I want to hear, if I don't consciously step back and say, wait a minute, and give myself over to the other person to a great degree and understand that they're just as human as me, um, it that's I think that's where real trouble happens when people cut folks off. I just think staying open doesn't fix any problems, certainly, but it allows you to address things in a in an appropriate way.
hmm And I guess what I really wanted to stress was that people can hear your words and they can think, well, philosophically, that's a great way to
Mhm.
operate in the world. But you have a wife of a long time. You have adult children, right? You have people who have their own right to an opinion.
Yes.
And so when you speak about this, it's not really hypothetical. This is doing life with other people. Um,
Everybody does it.
yes,
It's the how do you do it, but everybody does this. Nobody is identical in mind or thought. You may go down similar paths. You may go down divergent paths, but ultimately, it's, whether my head has always been in the clouds, as you can tell. My wife is much more practical. We make a great pair. Yeah, we really do. Simply because she can keep me rooted, and and I can I bring this esoteric. So it works.
it's good. It's
It works.
complimentary. Yeah.
Yeah, very complimentary.
So, what would be one small shift if you could tell listeners just one small shift that they could do today that would immediately change how they walk through the world? What would it be?
Easy. Be present. Just
Oh,
be aware. Yeah, can we go back to the grocery store line?
yes.
Saying hi to Monica, who's just flicking the scanner. Just be aware, when you're sitting there and some mom is yelling at their kid or some dad is, and you're judging in your head, what are they doing? You don't know what happened with anybody at any given point in time. You may think you know what reality is, but you don't. So be present. Don't judge. I tend to think the best of people at any given time. I know a lot of people don't. That's okay. But just be present and be aware that there's a world happening outside of you that is not you. And just be aware of that and be honest and open with whoever you come in contact with. Make eye contact. There's a simple one.
Mhm. Mhm. To notice each other.
Yeah, just be aware, be present, and be open.
So you have a TEDx talk coming up in
Oof.
Apex, North Carolina in April of
Yeah.
2026, depending on
Yes.
when people listen to this, but April 2026, it's coming up. Are you able to share? I mean, I can't wait for it. Based on this interview and what I know of you, it's going to be dynamite.
Well, thank you.
Do you have your kind of your one unique idea that you want to share, or should we just show up and hear it?
I am going to be speaking about leadership in general within the context of these 5 pillars.
Okay.
So I'll leave it at that. It's hard to take a really big idea and bring it down into 10 or 11 minutes.
Yes.
So I'm working on that now, but there's a whole cohort of folks, all the other speakers and coaches. There's a lot that goes on. So I'm, uh, I'm gonna enjoy the process that gets us to a final t
It's gonna be so good, so
I
good.
hope so. I hope so.
All right, before I let you go, is there anything that I missed? Anything that you want to talk about? Anything you wanna share?
You know, the one thing that I would add to all of this is thank you, Nicole, for doing what you do, because sharing kindness, sharing a positive word in a world that seems to segregate us and put us in little cubby holes doesn't serve us well. So being a kindness warrior, as you will, if you will, being part of the kindness revolution, I think we're both part of that. And I'm proud to be a member of that team.
Well, thank you. I'm proud to be a member of that team too, because I mean, I have the happiest email inbox ever, right? If people are
Yeah,
gonna email me and tell me about stories of kindness and things like that, I mean, what could beat that?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
good. Well, Richard's book is called Finding the Eye of the Storm. Oh, I'm trying to turn it around so people can see it. Finding the Eye of the Storm, a near-death experience answered my questions about the meaning of life and our purpose for being. Hey, our purpose for being. What's our purpose for being?
To love each other.
Okay.
As simple as that.
It can just be as simple as that. Let's work on
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Richard Greene, for talking with me about what it might look like to see the world through the lens of curiosity and humility and all of the other great pillars. I appreciate you so much. And thank you, everyone, for listening. If this conversation made you think of someone, I would be so grateful if you would pass it along to them. And remember, what we look for is what we'll see. Have a great day.
Thank you.